we go. Welcome to the 17 Club Men's Mastermind Group. And where, as always, I'd like to start out with our purpose statements. So the purpose statement is building disciplined men of purpose who take responsibility, act with intention, and serve others. This is where we study the science of personal achievement and support, encourage, and hold each other accountable on their journey toward their personal or professional definite chief aim. Welcome, guys. It's great to see you all again this morning. And we're going to be, Brad's going to be leading us today. But before we get into the lesson on adversity, learning from adversity, let's talk a little bit about some personal experiences over the past week. Did everyone have a good, bad, or indifferent experience they'd like to share with the group for a little bit of conversation? Please raise your hand. We'll start it there. Go ahead, Albert.
Yeah, so I started to share before everybody came into the meeting today the link for an interview I did with KDKA, and this is going to launch Practical Security by Albert Whale. I would like to do a segment every month on CBS because they gave me my debut, and also do local webinars and conferences on practical security, either through consumers or businesses.
There you go. There you go. Albert's getting out there. You know, number one rule of running a business, be visible. People need to know not only who you are, but what you do. And don't assume that just because you're talking about stuff that they know what it is you do. Because just because you know the material and you're talking all that language, that legal technical language with your industry, most people don't know what you do. What do you mean? What do you do? You know, many of us, a few of us in here are coaches. And oftentimes we'll tell people, they say, what do you do? Well, I'm a coach. Well, what does that mean? You coach little league, you coach softball, football, basketball. What do you do? So, you have to be a little bit more clear and precise and let people know, if they know what you do, they get to like you. If they have a need, they will call you. That's the key. Thank you, Albert. Rob McClaskton.
Actually have two. First one I'm very proud of I've been starting to develop. My background is cybersecurity as a civilian, and I started building apps. My first app was kind of an AI review app. You know, a customer gives you some feedback, you can drop it into this little app, and so I decided to go bigger, and I created a war intel app, considering everything that's going on in the Middle East, and it's based off all open source items. So there's no bias left or right. It's just facts and data. Uh, Shared it on several different social media platforms, and it's been very successful. So I'm very proud of it. It's a paid subscription. You get a free trial. I'll drop it here for you guys if you're interested. It's just been crazy. I couldn't believe what I saw this morning on my because I had to figure out all the back end, the pay, the announcements, the automation, the AI, and I just really geeked out on it, and it paid a lot of good dividends. So
Yeah,
very proud of that. Share
definitely
that here.
put it in the chat, Rob.
Yep.
Definitely put that in
And
the
then
chat.
and then hats off to Lewis. Lewis, you shared something with me with the group a few meetings ago, maybe two meetings ago, and it was I'm a champion. I'm a champion. And so one of the things I've started doing, and I'm a part of this other program, it requires you to take a cold shower as soon as you get up, and not easy. So you get up, make your bed, get squared away, walk into that bathroom, turn that cold water on, and I do that every time, Lewis. Right before I go in, champion, I'm a champion. Take a deep breath and go for it. So it works. Thanks, Lewis.
Yes, sending messages to the subconscious mind, right? And then, of course, you jump in that cold shower. There's lots of things happening. I stand there. I have one of those direct hot water things. There's no tank, and I have to stand there and wait for it to get hot and I'm not going in that damn cold water.
And you know what, Rob? And you're gonna be doing it for 10 years, and it's never, ever gonna get comfortable. So
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. It reminds me of my days in New England jumping into the Atlantic Ocean, and the water was warm. It was 58 degrees. It's never gets warm up there. And anyone else have something they like to share, an experience? So I'd like to throw one out there. So since the beginning of the year, I've been talking about writing a book, and I've started a book for real estate agents. I've started a book for men, and about 4 days ago, I decided to put myself on a 66-day challenge to change some habits. One of them is the consumption of red wine. I love red wine, and I've always been pretty committed to my exercise routines and doing things. But when I look in the mirror, I just didn't like what I saw. And so I decided to create a routine, and it's been consistent for the last week, and I don't see any reason why I would change it because it's actually, pretty easy to maintain. So I put together an exercise routine where I do strength training on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, right after I do my 4 mile run. And I do a walk run routine, which I think was publicized or made popular by a guy by the name of Jeffrey Galloway. And typically, I'll run. I mean, I'll walk, half a mile, get a warm up, and I'll run for a mile, for half a mile. That's the first mile. Then I'll do a walk for a half a mile. Then I'll run a mile. Then I'll walk for a half mile. Then I'll run a mile, and until I get to my 4 miles. And then on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, I do a core routine. So it's doing farmers carries and suitcase carries. And no, I don't need suitcases. I need dumbbells, and I just walk around with those, and doing some planks. And so I threw it into Chat GPT yesterday for a little bit of guidance and help. Wanted to see what my fitness standards were. I knew I plugged in my pace and all that, and I got some pretty good comments, results from Chat GPT in comparison to other men above 70, 70 and above. And then this, well, let's turn this into a program. And so before I went to bed last night, I had a bullet point list of things that I could do with this. And then finally I said, let's turn this into a book. And so today I am launching an effort, a mission. My definite major purpose for the next several months is going to be getting that program out there to be able to help men, especially all men, but especially men 50 plus, to get rid of their beer bellies and get in shape and do the things that they need to do. And because we all look in the mirror and we see what we see, and a lot of us aren't really happy with what we see. And certainly some of the guys that I walk past around the villages, I wonder how they can see anything because of that belly that's out there in front of them. But they want to change. And so why can't I help be the change? So I'm really excited. I'm motivated about it, and we'll see where that takes us. My intent is it's all going to be branded with the 17 Club logo and make it part of our program. So that's what I got. I see Dana Greathouse coming in the room. Let's let him in. Okay. All right. Anyone else? All right. Well, Mr. Wally, today's lesson is learn from adversity. What do you got for us, my friend?
Well, I think this is a prime example of adversity this morning because we're anticipating a speaker to come on, which I still would like to kind of highlight a little bit about David Meltzer, regardless of if he's here or not. But like I say, we're constantly evolving and adjusting to adversity, and it's a prime example of how things take place in life every day, where you expect things to go one way and they go just the opposite. And how do we adapt? So I did, like I said, I did want to mention David, and maybe he will hop on at some point here, but David's played a pretty influential impact in my life from an adversity standpoint and a coach. And David's got a huge long list of achievements. He's a best-selling author. His most recent book was Don't Do Business with Dicks. So it kind of evolves around the topic we're studying here today in a way. Highly recommend to read it, but he's also a philanthropist. He's kind of the inspiration behind the movie. I'm drawing a blank here. Lee
Show me the money.
Steinberg.
Show me the
What's
money.
that? No, it's a different one. I'll get back to you guys on that a little later. But he's got this huge long list of achievements, right? And in my eyes, like it's not the list of achievements, but his open heart and sharing his adversities with the world, on real time. And he in doing that, he impacted my life. It was something so simple, and I think there's a lot of coaches in the room who know this, that the simple things to do or simple not to do. So coaches consistently always, same with parents, we're always having to constantly remind of the simple things. And one of David's things for me was call your parents, call them every single day, tell them you love them, tell them you're safe. And it seems very minuscule, it really does. And at the time I was already a mama's boy, so I was on an every other day basis. Like I'm saying, Coach, you want me to call every day? I'm already calling every other day, But I listened to David. I was a good student. I listened and started calling my mom every day. And at the time, she had been diagnosed with cancer, and she began to rely on those phone calls every day. And you could tell, she needed that everyday reassurance of the phone calls. And in one year I consistently got that reminder from David, and as weird as it was, like I mentioned, the huge list of accomplishments, but he was open-hearted enough to share the loss of his own mom with the nation as he was experiencing it, which gave me an example, for when I lost my mom. For most, it's one of the most adverse parts of life is losing a loved one. And so I really give David a lot of credit for that, and check him out, because he gives a lot of his stuff away for free. Training, you can get an immense amount of training from David for free, including free books and stuff like that too. But on the subject of adversity, what really got my attention through the chapter was the fact that failure or adversity is not final until it's accepted as, or excuse me, failure is never final until it has been accepted as such. So we have the opportunity to go all the way back our entire life, whatever failure or setback we got, and we can still draw from that if we choose. And that was pretty remarkable to me. So, but one question I had for the group, and maybe it could kind of kick things off, is this thought process behind being proactive and reactive with adversity. We see people every year climbing Mount Everest. They're subjecting themselves to this adversity in order to grow. There's some things that we can't predict, in life, and we have to be reactive to the loss of a loved one or certain circumstances. But my question to the group, I guess, is what steps are you taking that's flexing that comfortability? For me, this is one of them. I don't like talking to people, and frankly, I'd much rather not be here, but I shouldn't say it like that. I love being here, but it's difficult for me, and I enjoy that to some degree because I know it's promoting my growth. I'm not climbing Everest yet, but we got to start somewhere. So I see Phil, your hand up. Take us away.
Hey, thanks, Brett, for really great insights. And I would just also, the same step is, edify everything you said about, David Meltzer. He was, I really come to appreciate him and what he offers the world. And besides, he's got the 2 TV shows, Elevator Pitch and Go Fund Yourself. He's travels in good circles, and it's good to tap into the environment. He's had a dinner in Boston, and I got the chance to meet him, where it was a group of people who came together at a VIP dinner, and I'm looking to do some things that are similar to that in the Boston area too, but that's coming down the road. He inspired me when he told his story about how the principles, the philosophy that we're talking about here are a foundation when dealing with adversity. He had the peace of mind and also the persistence and the faith that his projects were going to continue while he could also take time for himself at his loss of his mom. The area that I focus in it had been for 38 years as a funeral service professional. Yet I never thought about the idea of going into grief coaching. And then I happened to hear him say that, it was an experience that helped him to get through as a tool. Okay, that goes in the back of my mind. And then I heard a couple other people talking about doing grief coaching, and people who are financial planners are helping their clients. And because of David, I got inspired to launch a whole program that I'm working. And although the results aren't immediate, you have to have persistence. We have to keep on going because, like you said at the beginning, only when you accept defeat are you defeated. It's not like a game where you go into overtime and you can't accept that. You just have to accept that you didn't win that game. But in life, be persistent and keep going, and not let the reaction or response determine you. But we used to have a two-headed coin when I was with Bob Proctor and PGI. It was on smooth on one side, and it said when you respond, the world responds to you. But when you react, it was a rough side of it. When you react, the world falls apart. And I love those coins. I had a ton of those. I gave them all away. I wish I had held one for myself, but I didn't. But that's just a great reminder. I used to keep it in my pocket. And when you're faced with situations that, do I quit at the first sign of things not being good, or do I continue to go? And as a result of my inspiration to be a grief coach, it came up an opportunity for me to be a consult with a group starting up their own business. And so I've got, what's going to be a six-figure contract over the course of 18 months as a result of that. Of course, things are happening slowly, but they're moving forward. And so that's a whole key. Keep moving forward, be persistent, have faith, and these principles all come together. So, yeah, I thank you for leading us off today, and lots of stories of adversity. I don't want to go too far into the weeds with everybody here, but I want to hear everybody else's story too. So, thank you for leading us here.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. And I think that, beyond the aspect of learning from adversity is sharing, being vulnerable enough to share that adversity with others. And like you say, your adversity turns into the inspiration for somebody else a lot of times. And I've seen that even with the process of going through what I have is people, being able to capture it their own way and run with it, so, yeah, do we have any other, here we go. Rob, go ahead.
Hey, Brad, thanks for bringing this up. It's actually something that I'm gonna have to talk to my son about. So my son, he's 10, and he's a very inquisitive little young man. And he'll ask me questions like my last trip to see him, he asked me, Dad, what's puberty? I'm like, all right, here we go at 10. And I'm trying to explain it to him in a way as I'm on the highway. And then he asked me the roundhouse question. He has a 13-year-old sister, and he goes, has Sissy been through puberty? And so here I am on the highway again, trying to figure out how I'm gonna have this conversation. Well, my son, he's the kind of kid, 10-year-olds, you ask him what he wants to do in his life, and he'll give you a list. I love him. I'm so proud of him. But one of the questions he asked me this week, he said, and it was huge, huge question at it. It was some small little mouth, and he's like, Dad, will I fail? Will I ever fail? And I was like, geez, kid, okay. So I know we're gonna, I gave him a short answer, but I know we're going to sit down and have a very big discussion about it because it's such an important question. And I think adversity is, as men, as we're talking about as men here, adversity is, something that forged us in the past. It sharpened us in the past. Adversity, was a challenge and was accepted. I'm warriors. I always go back to the Spartans, the samurais, Knights Templar. These were adversity was seeked so they could sharpen and hone themselves either individually or as a group. And I think in today's society, we're so comfortable that adversity is almost important. We need to seek it. Now, life's going to bring it whether we like it or not. And then, like Phil said, we're going to have to manage through that and sometimes reach out for coaching for some of those heavier pieces of adversity. But it brings a lot of good too. So I think it's really an important item to discuss, especially for men.
Thanks, Rob. Luis.
Rob, thank you for bringing that up and everybody. But it making me think. That's why I raised my hand because Ernst Nightingale said it right. For centuries, for thousands of years, we've been looking. Society's been looking to get to this level of conformity, to have a decent life, to don't have to build your own house and do all the stuff that people were doing 150 or more years ago. But you have something great, Rob. Your kid is asking you questions. How many of us, our kids ask us questions? So he's opening the door for you to have these conversations. In my kid is 15, and I have to try to open the doors, and sometimes it's like, I guess we all been there with our kids. And if your kids are not teenagers yet, just wait. Just wait. It's gonna happen. So I would take that, and it's a perfect. I would take it if my kid is asking me questions. I would be like, you know what? Maybe if not ready, right? You know what? Let me think about it. Let me get back with you, and we're gonna sit down. We're gonna talk about it because having that conversation is gonna save your kids of pain, decades of pain, and he's showing you already he trusts you. And when he trusts you, you're on the other side of the fence. Things are going to get easier for you to communicate with him. And on the other hand, where you were going on the second part of what you were saying, we are too comfortable, and absolutely, we all are. If we're cold, what do? We just wear a hoodie. And we're too hot, we just gonna get to the fridge. And we just open the door and get a beer or whatever we want to get out. It's too easy. That's why, in my opinion, and I'm not try to sell what I do for a living, but that's why kids and adults need to be involved in disciplines, arts, sports that get them out of the comfort zone. We need to do that. I learned from this guy, Bedros Keuilian. I don't know if you know who that guy is. Bedros, he has a wonderful book called Man Up. If you want to check it out, Bedros, Bedros Keuilian. He takes 6 weeks challenges to get out of his comfort zone. So sometimes he's doing jiu-jitsu for 6 weeks, hires a coach. His first thing was the very first challenge that he did was he ran a marathon. The guy is a bodybuilder, has franchises with gyms and stuff like that. He did a marathon. He prepared himself from not running a mile to run whatever 13, no, it's 20 something miles, right, for the marathon. That was his first. So he got himself ready in 6 weeks with a coach, of course, not just, but he wasn't seeing 26 miles, Michael. Yes. Thank you. I go in kilometers. It's easier, right, Michael? So anyway, so yes. So, and he's getting himself out of, and I learned from that book and from him that's why I'm lifting now. And I learned through the lifting that is going to expand my lifespan is going to get way longer, better. So yeah, that uh, Rob, I was looking at you, Rob. We need to do stuff like that to get ourselves out of comfortable situations. And what's failure? Man, it comes to mindset. The problems that we have now, whatever is adversity for us nowadays, it's one of the stuff that was 20 years ago, adversity for you and for me. Now we laugh at it because we've grown financially, emotionally, spiritually. So it is, to me, adversity comes down to mindset. What is your mindset towards it? And I'm sorry, it took me a little bit long to explain all this or say this, but Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Luis. I appreciate it. And thanks, Rob. I think that I didn't really expect it to go towards the subject of children with this, but man, what better, examples of adversity. They're experiencing all this stuff for the very first time in their life, and so I don't know about your guys' kids or if some of you are blessed with having them. They're such a great learning lesson for us. I mean, every day, sometimes every hour, there's new adversities for them to learn. And as parents or coaches to them, we get to learn with them on some of this stuff for the first time. So appreciate you guys bringing that up. Phil, what do you got?
Yeah, I love how what Luis was saying too is that the idea of bringing in the weights and adversity. What is adversity anyway? Adversity is something that exists in our mind. We're defining it, and who are we to categorize this as adversity instead of shifting the perspective that it's a learning time? If you look at it as a mental muscle, really it's about strength. People are walking and running, or if they're lifting weights, there's resistance. And resistance simply means like there's a wind, and I can't fly a kite into the wind. Yet, if I look at the other side, that kite is going to really, fly away, or a sailboat or whatever it is. Like I'm not a sailor, but people know in tacking how to move a sailboat into the wind. That's beyond my capabilities, but there are people who are excellent at that. And when you have people who have the great tools or resources, they're the ones to lean on if you can't have a solution to the problem, the obstacle that's in front of you. That's what we're here. This is a beautiful environment of some wonderful men, and it's going to happen in relationships, whether it's our children or that significant other. And we don't have to have the answer at the immediate moment that the question is asked. We can think about it. We can say, hey, this is a great topic, and we can come back to it and just say, hey, let's talk about this. We can go deeper. It's like, I'm not a superficial guy. And how deep can you go? Is like shark deep, or is it like way down into the fathoms of the ocean that we can go deeper within us? How willing are we to go deeper? And that's where, adversity is a surface level thing. And how do we strengthen our mental muscles? So this way, it's who is it? Napoleon Bonaparte had that quote from Earl Nightingale. It's like, when I have my eye on the objective, the obstacle must fade away. And so it's a matter of perception. And as long as we keep going, adversity is not going to stop us. Everybody else would walk away, or they'd say, oh, you failed. Well, you didn't fail, only if you quit. If you accept that as true, then that's you've accepted that as true. But just because if it's an entrepreneur, a business doesn't work, well, there's things that are behind that, and you find out, okay, where did I miss? What was the Mrs. Pieces? Who was the people on my team? Who did I listen to? Who did I not listen to? And were they relevant or were they not relevant? There's a whole series of questions, right? But I really just like it's a mental muscle. It's resistance that's meant to strengthen us, not stop us. So yeah, that's I get inspired.
No, thank you, Phil. That's great. And two things kind of stood out to me through your topic. It's perception and resources, and those resources are so vital sometimes. And there's people out there, many of you are here right now, who said, hey guys, I've been through this. Like, I'll help you, I'll show you, and I think there's a level of acceptance, being willing to accept, hey, maybe this adversity is too much for me and I need to reach out for the help. You know what I mean? And there's so many people, including Frank's group. And I mentioned Meltzer's got a whole private networking group. Like it opened my eyes becoming part of these communities that there's so many good people out there that want to help you for free. Like, it's what they thrive on, so utilizing those resources so that you can see things from others' perspectives and not just, your narrow mind sometimes is definitely beneficial. Frank.
Yeah. Mhm. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. You guys all froze up on me for a minute. A lot of things to unpack here. And, obviously, I think all of us who have children have experienced uh, those types of questions, Rob. And as I was listening to the conversation, I'm thinking rather than try to immediately respond to the question, maybe ask questions. I think that's called the Socratic method. Socrates taught by asking questions. So if we ask questions before we try to respond, so we can get a deeper understanding as to where did that question come from, and it might make it easier for all of us. But then on another note, let's not forget. I mean, we all love our children and we want to help our children, but what about all the other people that we're setting an example for? You know, I have the advantage of going out for a run every morning, and I usually take the same route with small variations. And what I notice is that people are watching, and I wonder sometimes, when someone sees me run by, does it make them ask themselves, "Gee, maybe I could be doing something better for myself," and maybe get them out and go for a walk, right? And as a Marine, I know Rob, being in the Army, we always learn lessons, especially lessons of leadership. You lead by example, not by giving orders. So I always ask myself, am I setting the right example? And so when I talk about things like, I look in the mirror, I'm not happy with what I see. It's not that I'm fat and out of shape compared to what everybody else is around me. Problem is compared to everyone else around me, because those examples are not the best examples for me to look at. And so, can I lead in a way that helps me personally live longer and also sets the right example? And so, can you influence? I love guys who coach young youth sports, because they're out there trying to set an example. Unfortunately, sometimes I see the guys out there coaching, and physically they don't necessarily set a really great example. And if you want to set an example for a kid, you have to do it from all perspectives. But adversity, if we don't have adversity, we're not growing. We're in our comfort zone. When you close the windows on your car as you're rolling down the road, you don't feel anything. Open the windows up and you feel resistance. You feel the wind blowing in. Your hair is going all over the place. And when it's going sideways, it's moving your vehicle. That's resistance. And when we have that resistance, that's when you grow. That's when you pay more attention to what's going on. So I think that this is a great conversation, Brad. You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you very much. I just want to share that with you guys, what I was pulling out of it.
Thank you, Frank. No, and I think you make a good point that we wake up in resistance, I would say. There's a lot of people that practice morning routines, right? And why is that? Because we wake up in somewhat of an adverse mindset. We're automatically waking up, fighting the forces in a sense, and we have to come back in alignment. And so I just think that that daily structure is vital too in the activities. But who else do we got? Michael, you've been quiet. I know you have something good to share with us.
Sorry, there's lots of kid activity going on around here this morning. Speaking of children, so it was loud and busy, and it's spring break, so there's activity going on and everything else. Um, what do I have to share this morning? I think so. For me, adversity is a noun. So it's like a coffee cup. Adversity is a thing. A challenge is a thing. We get to decide what it means. We have the beauty, the grace, whatever your origin story of humanity is, whatever it comes with gives us free will and grace. And those two things allow us to turn any noun into something that's full of meaning. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, they run into challenge, like you were just mentioning, Bradford, about they run into challenge, they run into adversity, and they think it's bad, right? They equate bad. They rarely take the time, as Phil was mentioning, to assess what's really going on and decide whether it's actually bad or good, whether that actually has any meaning, whatever. Why does it matter whether it's bad or good? And so to me, adversity is, I mean, guys, we have to go through adversity. It's necessary, right? And as kids, we seek this out. And for some reason, by mid 20s, a lot of people decide that they want to be comfortable instead of be challenged. And they live the rest of their lives that way. And those who accomplish a lot in life never do. They seek it out. There's actually there's a quote here. I couldn't remember it, so I had to track down the book. It says, "Don't wait for something beneficial to happen. Get busy and make something happen." Right in the learn from adversity section there. And to me, that's all about seeking out adversity and going after it. There's a buddy of mine. I shouldn't say he's a buddy. He's an acquaintance of mine, and he's been knighted. So I don't know if you guys know how difficult it is to be knighted in this world, but it's incredibly difficult. And Sir Darren Jacklin has been knighted, and he lives in North Vancouver, so not that far from me. And if you want to have a conversation with Sir Darren, you have to face adversity. He does either, and for those who don't know it, the grouse grind is a vertical mile up a mountainside. And he does that vertical mile in about 52 minutes. 50 to 52 minutes. So it's basically an hour-long Stairmaster up the side of a mountain here in Vancouver. Or there's some other hikes that he'll do that are a little bit less challenging if you can't do that. But if you want to have a chat with him, you schedule in, and it's literally the adversity of you have to talk while hiking alongside Sir Darren Jacklin. And Sir Darren Jacklin is going to the Antarctic to do a huge hike there in the near future. He's in his early 60s. So the man's in awesome shape. He's an incredible human being. But it's like adversity is the thing that's going to get you access to some of the greatest, most influential people that there exists. That's the doorway to walk through, right? And so it, you know, it's just a noun, right? It's just a noun. It's just an object that's in the way. We get to decide what it's really worth, what it means. That's
Thank
my
you so
2
much,
cents.
Michael. I appreciate that. I put you on the spot and you delivered.
Oh,
I really
no problem,
appreciate
buddy.
it. And you make a good point that let's say we're a noun and let's say we're a diamond. Let's say we're a diamond, and then you also bring up seeking out adversity. I feel like I I ask myself often, and I don't know why it is, but I ask myself, have I been through enough adversity to be successful?
Mm.
And I personally feel like the answer to that should always be no. Should always be no for me. I mean, everybody's different, but I think
I,
that
I
we're
think the
all
tricky part with that one, Bradford, is you add a when into that statement,
sure.
and now you're waiting.
Yeah.
I had that problem, and universe showed up and handed me cancer. So be careful what you ask for.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think I think there's a certain level of proactive, proactive discipline, if you will, to challenge yourself. And then there's the reactive that we can't control. And I think that there's ways that you can be very proactive about the adversity that comes your way.
Yeah,
From
I think
examples
there's
like
a
you,
fine
go
line
ahead.
between going through adversity, guys, and suffering. And that's where we have to, I think that's one of the edges of the sandbox that we have to not fall into, right? Is that our job is not to Bradford, if you can go help somebody because of what you learned in your life today, then you should go do it. It doesn't matter that you haven't suffered enough, right? It doesn't matter that you haven't been through enough adversity. You have a lifelong full of lessons and value and experiences and wisdom and skill that can go be applied to somebody else. So you should be, in the great Christian way, you should be of service to other people. So I think that's tricky, and we should be careful of what we ask for when it comes to I need to be challenged more in order to go out and help other people because you're inviting things into your life that might keep you stuck instead of in service. And that's a really tricky spot to be in because who knows when that's enough, right? Who gets to decide?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. And I think our intuition offers feedback to us where comfortability and adversity, where there's a growth portion in between the two, and I wasn't necessarily trying to promote suffering, so to speak, but more of challenge, like we all need to be challenging ourselves in ways that, expand our growth. And but no, I really appreciate your feedback. You're
And
always
challenging others, Bradford. That's the key too, right? It's
Absolutely.
challenging others, right? Like my wife is going through something right now where one of her best friends completely forgot her birthday and she's not sure how to handle it. Should she be teaching this best friend a lesson? Should she walk away from it? Like, what should she do? This is a real life, one good friend to another good friend. They forgot something really important. My wife's birthday is very important to her. This person forgot. So, does it behoove my wife now to teach her a lesson? Does it like where does that lie? And if is that a value? Does my wife just sort of blast her for forgetting and that's the lesson? My wife's a bit of a cannon, so sometimes that works in her favor, sometimes it doesn't, right? So like there's, because we also need to not only challenge ourselves, guys, but we need to challenge others, right? That's the only way the world gets better is the coaching industry can get super myopic and narcissistic about coaching itself all the time. And that's one of its greatest criticisms is that it spends all this time talking to itself. When what it really should be doing to be of most value is talk to other people that don't understand the concepts, that aren't familiar with these ideas, right? That are stuck where they are and they need your guidance. They just need you to structure it in such a way that actually gets through, right? And so that's another part of this too, is let's not forget we got to seek out adversity in another person and affect change.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Rob, thank you for your patience. Go ahead.
No problem. It's a great discussion. I think a couple of things were said that are important. Michael, you mentioned control, and then Phil, you mentioned, decision of what thoughts we allow when it comes to adversity. My friend invited me to a podcast this week, and he said, I'm not going to tell you what it's about. I'm not going to prep you. I'm not going to give you any questions. I just want you to be raw. I was like, all right, what are you getting me into? I'll do it. He's a good friend, so I owe him one. And he throws me in there, and it turns out to be a gentleman that has a political view completely different from mine. And he was very emotional about it. And I figured out really quick where this was going. And it was about the political landscape, the situation abroad, just everything that we all know that's happening around us in our world. And he was passionate about it. But I had the conversation with him, and I'm very easily able to navigate my way through those types of conversations. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is coming back to adversity, with the current situation around us politically, um, and what's happening globally, I get to choose what I want to listen to and what I don't want to listen to. I get to choose how I want to manage that adversity. It doesn't matter if I agree or disagree. I have my opinions, but I don't let it affect me the way this other gentleman was getting affected, who was even emotional after the fact because he called the guy that held the podcast, and he had a lot of things to say about me. I forgot about him as soon as I got out the podcast. I was actually glad because it was getting late and I wanted to go to bed. But it was you pick and choose. There's going to be adversity whether you like it or not. It's just there. It's life. And especially with what's happening now in our world today. It's pick and choose the adversity that comes into your life, manage and control your life, and you'll have more peace. That's my approach.
Thanks, Rob. That also paints a different picture that we get a choice. You know, we're able to decide in a lot of circumstances what adversity we're going to allow into our lives. And so yeah, use caution. Frank.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. I want to go back to the question you posed. Have I faced enough adversity to achieve success? Because success is one of those words that is defined differently by everyone in the room. Are you questioning your own success when you ask that question? Or are you already a success? I mean, whose eyes are we looking through, right? And I think if we approach it, and this is, I ask myself the same question as well. So this isn't a judgment conversation. This is, okay, what are you looking at and why are you asking that question? Are you achieving what you want to achieve? If you're achieving what you want to achieve, you're serving people, you're not harming anyone, you're living a successful life, in my eyes. If you're not doing things at your highest level, yes, there's room for growth. And in order to grow to that higher level, you will face adversity. So when you ask the question, you're really asking yourself, am I working at my highest level? Am I living the success I deserve? Well, it depends. Are you working at your highest level? Because everyone in this room can take on the same challenge. Some of us will be more physically capable to do the challenge than others. But sometimes the one who's not as physically capable is given everything they've got to try to achieve that. And maybe the person who's physically capable isn't giving his all. Which one is successful? I'm remembering a story about, I think it was a priest in a church, and they were passing the basket for donations. And a lot of people were dropping, $10 bills, $20 bills, $50 bills, whatever. And this elderly woman walks up from the back of the church and she puts in 2 cents. And the person with the basket, not confrontationally, but mentally says, 2 cents? Really? Is that all you've got? And he shared the comment with the main priest. And the priest said, that woman, her donation was greater than all the others because it was all she had. Let that sink in. She gave all she had. Whereas the others, I mean, who expects you to give everything you got? But she did. So when I'm listening to the conversation, especially for this group of men, because we're here for a reason. We want to grow, we want to lead, we want to have conversations. And the question is, are you giving your all? If you're not giving your all, then give more. And you'll achieve all the success that you deserve. Right? So, and yes, then you will face adversity because you're going to be doing stuff that you didn't do before. And when you do stuff you didn't do before, you're going to trip and stumble and fall. That's how we grow. Every setback holds a lesson. When you step, when you trip and you fall, what's the lesson? Look where you're stepping. Pay attention to where you're going. Open your eyes, right? So that's all I got. I mean, that's a great question. Am I achieving the success that I deserve? Or have I not faced enough adversity? Well, I mean, that's a great question. Are you giving everything you got? So I just wanted to share that perspective.
Thank you, Frank. And it's kind of helping me redefine success as a whole, too. And I think that when your chief aim, or as Michael would say, your noble duty, is so big that, it should be very difficult to achieve, But then he brings up other people, and serving others. That success should technically, in my opinion, be aimed towards the success of other people. So I appreciate that. It's great food for thought. Geez, I don't know. I'm new to this mediating. I don't know whose hand was up first, but Luis, take us away.
It was Fields, then Michael, then me. So
Thank you.
that's the order.
Thank you. Go ahead, Phil.
Luis, we're all brothers here together, so thank you, Brad. And yeah, that's probably powerful. It's like Frank, what you was just saying is like to the level of where we are, what do we give? What do we contribute mentally, financially, and in our actions, our habits? You know, what is that resistance that we have, and how do we be free? You know, one of the things I do when in funerals, there's not a faith community or a clergy or people belong to the term I would use is celebrant. So I'm kind of like the MC. And I always bring up the quote. Viktor Frankl had a book, Man's Search for Meaning. And within that book, there's a great quote that I always like to use because these are people who are gathered in adversity. In celebration too, there's a paradox. There's celebration and there is laughter and there's gratitude. It's complex of the different things. But this quote I like to use and help setting a frame is that between a stimulus and a response is this space. And in this space, we have that power to make a choice. And that decision that we make in that space determines what is our power and what is our freedom. And so, and then I combine that with what Earl Nightingale talks about. You know, an educated person is one who can have every single thing that they desire and beyond in abundance without violating the rights of others. And so when I hear in times of chaos or times of uh, differing thoughts and opinions or views or perspectives, how do I only be focused on how is my mind and my calm? And where do I allow my emotional intelligence to go? Am I in control of the emotions or not? And quite often, other people just aren't thinking for themselves. So, how can we inspire people to think for themselves? And based on how they are thinking and the processes they use and how they observe things, we welcome and respect those things together. The problem comes in when the educated person doesn't violate the rights of others. People who are not thinking for themselves are trying to force and control. They're controlling because one of the six ghosts of fear. Maybe they don't want to be criticized. Maybe they have a fear of poverty. Maybe they have a fear of loss of liberty. Whatever their fears are, they're jumping to their fears and they're not thinking. So how can we all be free and understand there's 9 billion different perspectives and different thoughts, yet everybody's trying to categorize into one or two. It's not just black or white. That's an uneducated response. Highly intelligent people who go through lots of training are not educated in who they are as a person, and they're allowing others to do the thinking for them instead of thinking for themselves and being calm with whatever it is that you have. I encourage you and I support you on that. The problem comes in force, in controlling. How do we just allow freedom of thought and freedom of actions and others, so long as they're not socially, what's the word? Unless they're not a psychopath or looking intending to hurt other people, then it's something that I encourage. So anyway, I just wanted to contribute that a little bit to the conversation. Here we are, opening up a can of worms.
No, that's great, Phil. That's great. I appreciate it. And, I think it's an exercise and it's built through adversity, being able to come in a free spirit and talk what's in your heart, so it doesn't just come naturally to everybody on day one. Could I have been here talking to you guys when I started this journey with you 11 weeks ago? No, I couldn't have, but I was willing to, deal with the adversity of it, and here I am. So I appreciate your feedback on that, Michael.
Okay. So I'll be quick here, guys. Who here has watched the Alex Hormozy Tony Robbins interview? Okay. Watch that interview. For those who haven't, for those who have, watch it again. Right? Remember, Bradford.
On YouTube, just to interrupt you.
Yeah, sure. YouTube. Yeah, you'll find
Thank
it
you.
there. Yeah. But there's two men who've accomplished, guys, let's just be honest, an incredible amount in their lives. I mean, Alex Hormozi's 37 years old and he's worth, I don't know, what's his business worth now? $300 million. Like, it's incredible what he's done in such a short period of time. I think about what I was doing 10 years ago versus what he was doing 10 years ago. And I'm like, wow, someone's scorecard is kicking mine. You know what I mean? Like, but the fact is, and then there's Tony Robbins, mid 60s or whatever he is now, late 60s, early 70s. And Alex Hormozi and Tony Robbins, Rob. But the fact is Tony takes him to the woodshed on this exact topic, doesn't he? Because Alex says, I was reading all these personal development books. I was reading all this. I was getting coaching. I was getting these things, and I wasn't getting what I wanted in life. So I developed an internal mantra: fuck happiness. And he did everything from a place of push. I am a champion. He's punching the fist. He's doing it over and over again, right? Like he built himself hard. And it worked. I mean, he's in the fitness industry. That's where his first business was. Like a lot of this thematically makes sense. It's on brand for who he is. He's a big, strong, masculine man. It makes perfect sense, right? But he built this version of Alex Hormozi. And now that version of Alex Hormozi was able to accomplish X. And Tony Robbins just laughed at him. He laughs at him in the middle of the interview and says, fuck happiness. He's like, no, 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 no. What is wrong with you? Fuck suffering. Why do you think that sure, that got you to where you are today? That's never going to get you to where you want to be tomorrow. He says, no wonder you're so frustrated in your life right now. The man's worth a huge amount of money. He had the greatest book launch of all time. $105 million in books sold in 48 hours. But there's Tony Robbins sitting across from him going, you're doing it wrong. Because you've lost the plot. And you had to lose the plot to get to where you are. Congratulations. Good, you did that. But now it's gone. And Alex was talking about the fact that he gave like $2 million to charity and felt nothing. And he's like, I thought I would feel good. I gave away all this money. All I felt was $2 million poorer. And Tony's like, yeah, because you have no emotional connection to anything anymore. You've pulled back on all that stuff. Remember, they call it analytical Alex versus anabolic Alex. Anyway, it's a great interview, guys. Read it or watch it, I should say. But the fact is that adversity is the definition. I love how Phil was talking about it. There's the moment, right? And Viktor Frankl says in that book, he looks at Nazis in the concentration camps, right? They've killed his family to try and get a rise out of him. And he looks right directly at the soldiers and says, I am freer than you are. Can you imagine the power in decision making that he holds? And it all comes down to there. Right? There's that gap, that moment where you get to decide. And that's what Tony Robbins was trying to show Alex. He's trying to show this to him is you get to choose whether you move from a place of pain and suffering that you've been through enough. You've done enough reps, and it makes sense. He's a bodybuilder, right? You've done enough reps, you've done enough sets, you've been through enough anguish, you've been through enough pain that now you get the reward. Whereas Tony's like, you did that. It got you here. Unfortunately, my buddy, it's never going to get you to the next spot because that's not what motivates it. And it's one of those things, and I think you guys have heard me say this before, that is a lesson that you will never learn. You have to earn. It's easy for Tony Robbins to say that he's worth several billion dollars, right? And in some cases, we're going to have to earn some of those lessons. We can't just learn them in a room like this and on paper. You got to earn it. And some of that requires going through adversity and hardship, as Bradford was alluding to. Anyway, if you haven't watched the interview, guys, watch it. Watch it again. Watch it again. put it on tape loop because it's really interesting how these two phenomenal human beings unpack things. And Tony Robbins just takes them to town. You know, Alex Hormozi is on quite a pedestal these days, and Tony Robbins just takes him to town. Yeah, pins him right down. Yeah, like a little kid.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. I did watch the interview and would highly recommend it too. I need to rewatch it. We had somebody else here with their hand up, but I'm not seeing anybody. Luis, did you have
It was me.
some?
Yeah, it was me. Yeah. No, absolutely. It breaks down to it comes down to identity with Alex Hormozi, like most of us. Whatever our identity is, the mindset that we have at the moment is the identity that we have. And we have archetypes. You know, Tony Robbins is big on that as well. Archetypes. We're not the same people when we're with our spouses than when we're at work, than when we're playing with the kids or when we're talking here. Right? So we have different mindsets when we come to this thing. So no, I love it. And I strongly suggest you guys to watch it, especially for us, if you are a coach and you see how Tony's taking. And he said to the point that he made him understand where was the source of his happiness. He said, I was way happier. And he makes the decision, Alex says, when he got the first 100 million, I'm sorry, the first 100,000, his very first $100,000, that made him way, way happier than earning millions. And that's where the sweet spot is for him. See, for Tony Robbins, probably is making $1 billion a year. For Alex Hormozi, is his people, and this is the thing for me, this is what I've learned here. The adversity is right there to understand who is your people, who are you helping. We can help a lot of people, but sometimes we're lost because we're trying to help everybody. We don't deserve to help everybody, and no, not everybody is deserved to be helped by us. We gotta find our people, help that person, take him to the next level. And like Alex said, I'm gonna help. And he created, actually, I just got a video from him 2 days ago saying, hey, this is what I decided with Tony, and I'm gonna take this amount of people to earn their first 100,000. And you can tell the guy is completely different. He's laughing, and then just like Michael said, where is the happiness versus the suffering, right? So yeah, that's where I'm going. Thank you,
Hey,
guys.
thank you, Luis. David, I see I must have got my times mixed up. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, so the meeting started at 10, but man, I gave you a lot of props and welcome. I'm sorry I'm bringing you in at the very end of the meeting, but we had a lot of people, and I see Colleen's calling me now like, hey, let's make this work. But one of the coaches here, Phil, shared a story, about how you impacted his life too. And this is just a great group of guys that, I couldn't stress highly enough of what you've kind of done in my life. And if anybody has to cut out, feel free to cut out. But David, if you don't mind, we could kind of tune in with what you have for us. And
Yeah, no, I apologize. Yeah, they had 9 a.m. Pacific time. I don't know where the mix-up was on Colleen's side, but I apologize and thank you for your patience. Yeah, maybe if you can hang on 15 minutes, I'm more than happy just to run through a couple things, and also just want to offer your whole community my book. So if anybody wants the exercise, the guide, this training, my book, just email me. I'll send it to you for free. I'll pay for shipping the book. Don't worry. So my email is david@dmeltzer.com. David@dmeltzer.com. It's right there. So just real quick, because I know they had asked me just to mention about adversity. And, for me, I'm a behavioralist and I see things differently. I believe there's two things that we seek in life through lessons. We're here to learn lessons. The lessons keep on coming until we learn them. Every lesson is available for us to access, and we also will forget every lesson we have ever learned. It's important to remember that as well. When I say remember, it's important that we remember, and recollect this omniscient, all powerful, all knowing source. So it's not just the wisdom from these lessons, it's having faith. And that's where adversity comes into play, is that without faith, and I don't care what your faith is, I just believe your faith has to be in something bigger than you, that's omniscient, all powerful, all knowing, that loves you, protects you, and promotes you more than your mom. And you can call it whatever religious, pragmatic, dogmatic belief you have. But if you don't seek wisdom in your life through gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability, and you don't have faith, adversity will win every time. But if you seek wisdom and you have faith, adversity means nothing. It just is evidence that's not to your understanding. So most of the times we look at the evidence today, and we see no evidence that we're going to be where we want to be, or a lot of times we even see contrary evidence that we're going to be where we want to be. I'm going to tell a quick story to tell you where I found this shift in a paradigm, that I am already happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy. I just got to figure out what I'm doing to interfere with it. Unfortunately, in 2008, I lost over $100 million and went bankrupt. That was painful. You could say there was a lot of adversity in losing over $100 million and going bankrupt. But the worst part, the basement of the basement, was that I had to tell my mom, number one, that I went bankrupt and I lost everything. But even worse, I did not take my name off of the title of her home when I gave it to her. And so she lost her home and had to move. And so my basement had that basement. And I went up to my mom that day. I was like a 4-year-old when she answered the door. I couldn't talk. I was just hysterically crying. Ma, ah. My mom said, are you okay? Is your wife, Julie, is she okay? Are the kids okay? What's the matter? I said, Mom, I lost everything. I lost your home. Now, the only reason I wanted to be rich was I wanted to buy my mom a house and a car. I grew up with a single mom, 6 kids. She worked 2 jobs. One as a 2nd grade teacher, then came home, packed our dinner in a paper bag, and then filled up turnstiles at convenience stores with greeting cards just so we could eat. I never listened to my mom till the day she died, but I watched her. I watched her. And I know my kids are watching me, and I know they're not listening to me. And so when I told my mom I lost that house, barely could get it out, my mom's response was, oh, do you need some money? I said, Mom, I lost everything. I lost your home. You need to move. I don't think you heard me. She goes, oh, no. I heard you. What can I do to help you? I said, Mom, why is God punishing me? My mom smirked at me and said, oh, sweetheart, God never punishes. He only protects and promotes and loves and perfects you. You got to figure out how. You got to figure this out. I then looked at my mom and I said, well, Mom, I don't believe in God. And she smiled calmly and she said, oh, you believe in God. You just believe in the wrong God. You need to take stock in who you were and what you want to become, son. You need to utilize a lens of gratitude to find the light, the love, and the lessons in this. You need to render forgiveness to give you the ease so that you could access the infinite amount of intelligence, intuition, and inspiration that you are born into and walk with every day. You've got to figure this out, son. You got to figure out what you're doing to interfere with your potential. It's already there. And so from that day, I took those values of gratitude and forgiveness and accountability to ask myself, what did I learn from being responsible or attracting it to myself? Or what did I learn for participating in the perception, whatever belief system you have? And I walked with God from that day forward. I walked with an omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing source, and I spend minutes and moments interfering with it. And I practiced that with these 5 daily practices, which I'll send to all of you. I wake up every morning with non-negotiable behavior. No matter what happens in the day, I spend a minimum amount of time on my sleep. I spend a minimum amount of time with my family 7 days a week. I spend a minimum amount of time with my faith. I spend a minimum amount of time with my health. I spend a minimum amount of time on my finance. I spend a minimum amount of time studying time. And I spend a minimum amount of time studying the meaning or the relativity of that time, aligned with the divine direction every day, 7 days a week. And that equals about 12 hours a day. The majority of it is sleeping. So it's really not as cumbersome or OCD as you may think, but it takes back the control of uncertainty. Although I can't guarantee anything, the only guarantee I've been given is the 24 hours a day, every single day of my life, except for the last day I'll be cheated. Beyond that guarantee, I have my non-negotiable behaviors, and I know 90% of the exponentiality in my life in that divine direction will occur from spending a minimum amount of time 7 days a week. Knowing 2 minutes a day with my daughter is worth 2 hours on a Saturday, every single day. Now that leaves 12 hours of awake time to do whatever I want according to the circumstances of the day. And that's where these daily practices come in, where now I say to myself with those 12 hours, what is it I want today according to the circumstances of the day, the weather, the delays, the coming to the masterminds at the wrong time, whatever it is that we have. What is it that I want today in my divine direction? Knowing that devotion, divine direction is different than discipline. I coach so many people. And they're so disciplined. They're so disciplined working every day, they forget to make money. They're so disciplined every day, they don't spend time with their family. They're so disciplined every day working, they don't take care of themselves. But when you're devotional, discipline is just a subset of the divine direction in which you want to and you desire to be in or better. And so when we ask ourselves, what is it we want today according to the circumstance of the day in my divine direction? Not what other people want for me, not what social media says for me, not what's missing and not what I don't have, but what I want today realistically according to the circumstances of the day. And then I give the meaning to the past. You see, the meaning to the setbacks of losing everything, the failures, the mistakes, the adversity, knowing that within every adversity, every struggle, every single challenge we face, the solution is already there. It's just the lapse of time until it becomes what? A resolution, a resolution, because the solution is already there. We want to shorten the distance between the problem and the solution. And we do that via wisdom of lessons and faith in God. Your God, not my God, not Instagram's God, your God. Something bigger than you that loves you more than your mom. Protecting, promoting, loving, perfecting you, even when you have no idea how this losing everything, including your mom's house, would 18 years later allow you to make more money than you ever had, help more people than you ever dreamed of, and enjoy your life, have more fun than you ever imagined. Saving not only your marriage, but saving your life. That day, there was no evidence. In fact, all evidence was contrary that I ever would be here standing today, and yet I am, because the solution was already in that problem. And my mom gave me the secret of what I wanted today in alignment with where I wanted to be in the future by giving meaning to my past, knowing that it is the meaning I gave the mistakes, setbacks, and failures in my life that would limit my self-image. And I knew that I would never overachieve my own self-image. And so I align the meaning of my past with my divine direction every day. Then I ask, who can I help and who can help me? Because the fastest way to get to where you want to be is find someone that's already there and ask them for help. Asking for help is humility, and it's also the greatest gift you can give. It took me years to understand this, but we feel closest to God. We feel at our highest self when we're able and capable of helping other people. So when you give somebody else the opportunity to help you, you are giving them the greatest gift the greatest gift of their highest self, allowing them to be able and capable of helping you. And then helping other people get to where they want to be allows you to be at your highest self and helps you get to where you want to be. Then you need to know your how by being a student of time, non-negotiable, negotiable, planned, unplanned, paid for, unpaid for, and your sleep. And then knowing your now. 100% of the things you do now and do next get done. It is the antidote to procrastination and to the feeling of overwhelmed. You cannot feel overwhelmed and not procrastinate if you know what to do now and know what to do next. And you will do so if you know your what, your who, your how, and your now. And then finally, as I finish up, what I teach people and would love to share with you is stop searching for purpose. Stop searching for your why. Apply it. It's already there. Apply your why. Figure out what you're doing to interfere with it. Apply your why every day by recognizing, what am I doing to interfere with it? So when you respond to the ego's reaction to uncertainty with the need to be right, a need to be offended, a need to be separate, inferior, superior, when you have a need to be anxious or frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful, or worried, worry is a duplicate to negative. Not only is it interfering with your potential, but it's wishing for what you didn't want. But when you find that you're interfering with those needs, the response to the reaction to fear, to the uncertainty, don't try to resist it. Don't go under it, over it, through it, around it. Don't lie to it, manipulate it, cheat it, or deny it. Just stop. Breathe through your nose, out through your mouth. It sounds easy, but remember, the simple things to do are simple not to do. If you don't believe me, then why is it so many people don't say thank you? Thank you takes 0.1 seconds and it's free. It's guaranteed to change your life if you live in gratitude every day. But yet by the night, before you go to bed, half of us won't say thank you. By tomorrow morning, another half won't say thank you. Within 3 days, almost all of us will stop saying thank you. Yet it's free, 0.1 seconds, and it's guaranteed by almost every human being to have the most impact in your life, that gratitude. So next time your mind, your body, and soul are on fire, what I want you to do is stop, breathe, drop, recollect, remind you, remember your God, and then roll into your divine direction. Know your what, your who, your how, your now, and apply your why. And I promise you, you will make a lot of money, you will help a lot of people, and you will have a lot of fun. And I've never met anyone in my life who makes a lot of money for the sake of helping others and has a lot of fun doing it that isn't happy. And if you're happy, you will help me on my mission of empowering over 1 billion people to be happy and empowering others to be happy. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your time. My email is David, means beloved, at D, my first initial, Meltzer means servant.com, David at dmeltzer.com. I'll send you my books, my guides, my exercises for free. Just email me. I'll pay for shipping in the book. Don't worry. I got time for a couple questions. Rob, you got a question?
Yes, sir. Not a question, but just a thank you. I listened to your interview with Cleona at a very late night. I was on a road trip back from seeing my kids. And I'm never happy when I leave my kids. Me and mom co-parent, there's no drama. It's a beautiful situation, actually. Our kids are happy, but they're little. And it's just so hard to leave them because they're. And I listened to your interview, sir. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
We got you, Rob.
God bless you. Any other questions or comments? We appreciate everybody and their vulnerability, and what an open group you have. I appreciate, Brad.
Hey,
the opportunity to speak.
David, this is Frank Menard. I'm the host of the 17 Club, and we've met before. We met in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you so much for coming in today. You know, whatever happens with time, I saw you pop up in the admit list. I said, well, I can't close now, so let's go for it. Brad, I want to thank you so much for inviting David here. The message, David, as always, is great. It's simple, yet it's not easy to do. And thanks for the reminder that just the little things in life that really matter.
You're welcome, guys. Thank you for staying over. I know your time is valuable, and I look forward to doing more with all of you. I do a Napoleon Hill training on Wednesdays for free. For 28 years, I've done free Friday trainings. I do Ask Me Anythings, meetups. I'm going to be in Orange County doing a mastermind this week. I'm in New York and New Jersey next week. If any of you guys want to meet up live, just email me, david@dmeltzer.com.
Hey, thank you so much, everyone, for an awesome meeting. I appreciate it. And what turned out from adversity, we got 100 and, or excuse me, an extra 19 minutes of wisdom out of the deal. So make of it what you will. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Absolutely.
Thank
Great,
you. God bless
great
you
job.
all. Have a great
Thank
day.
you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you,
thanks,
Brad.
David.
Thank you, David.
Brad,
Thank
Brad,
you.
wonderful job, man. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for leading the
thank
group
you.
today.
All
Thank
right,
you
take
to
care,
everyone.
guys.
Make sure you
Thank you
watch the
all.
replay.
Yeah. Bye. Happy St. Patrick's.